Ruhani, congratulations. Your first win of the tournament, and what a win in 29 moves. Before we start with the game, could you please tell us what was your preparation after the rest day? What did you do in the rest day?
I went for the tour to Underprivileged, Gandhi Ashram yesterday, and I also prepared against my opponent, so that's a plus.
Okay. Did you see your opponent's game? What is your general idea, like how do you prepare before a game?
I basically stalk my opponent, and I went through all her games that were available online. Then I prepared the opening she plays, and I did some puzzles. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, you mentioned about stalking. I think that's the very generic word you have used. But there are certain players you might meet on the board who have no games. How do you prepare against those opponents, if you can tell us?
I go through all of my openings. So yeah, like whatever my opponent plays, I already know it. So that's really working for me. And I basically focus on puzzles more because I think I'm weak at that.
Okay. So if you can show us what happened in today's game.
Okay, so the game started with d4, d5, c4, e6, c into d5, e into d5. Queens can be declined exchange. I played knight c3. My opponent replied with knight f6. Bishop g5. I play the bishop g5 variation. My opponent played h6. So I don't think it's a very good move because I can play bishop into f6 and my opponent will have to play g into f6 to protect the d5 pawn. So I played bishop into f6 and my opponent blundered queen into f6. So queen into f6 is the sixth move itself, and I already get a pawn on the seventh move. So my opponent plays queen d6.
Okay.
I played e4, supported my knight. My opponent replied with c6. I went knight c3. My opponent played queen e6, which was kind of logical to me. I played knight f3. My opponent played bishop b4, pinned my knight and threatened to take the e4 pawn. So I supported both the pieces with queen d3. My opponent castled. I played bishop e2 for my castling. My opponent played rook d8, maybe to pin the d4 pawn, and I castled. As soon as I castled, my opponent played b6 to develop her bishop, and I played a3 to attack my opponent's bishop. I was thinking that maybe she will play bishop into c3, I'll play b into c3, and it's a good structure for me. But my opponent played bishop a6, I played queen c2. My opponent played bishop into e2, and I was more than happy for exchanging the pieces. Queen into e2. My opponent played bishop e7. I continued with rook fe1. My opponent played c5. I think c5 is another weak move because I get to play knight d5 and the c7 is weak. It would have been better if my opponent had developed her knight. My opponent played queen d7. So I think it would have been better for her if she played queen d6 first, but she played queen d7. I played knight e5. My opponent played queen b7, which was, I guess, the only move to defend. I continued with rook ac1. All of my pieces are now developed, so I am pretty confident at this point that I'll win this game. My opponent continued with knight c6, which is a blunder. Knight c6, knight into c6. My opponent played rook into d5. I played knight into e7 check, queen into e7, e into d5, and I'm simply a rook and a pawn up. My opponent played queen f6. I played d into c5, grabbing another pawn. My opponent went queen d8. I think she should have played b into c5. I played d6. My opponent played b into c5, and I played queen e7. Queen b6, d7, and my opponent blundered again, rook d8. I played queen into d8 check, queen into d8, and rook e8 check. This was where my opponent resigned.
Excellent game, but one thing I should give you the credit that even though you had a great position in the opening, you did not go all out. You waited, you developed your pieces, and then you attacked. So is this your style to not go all out in the opening, even though if you have an advantage to first castle, develop your pieces and put all your pieces in the game, or do you think that this game you wanted to play it a little safe?
Actually, I did want to play this game safe because this tournament was really rough for me. So I didn't want to take any chances and wanted to keep it in my favor. So I first developed all my pieces, waited for her to blunder, and then I just bam.
Amazing. So you are the current amateur champion, right? So tell us about that tournament. How did it went, and how was that experience?
So honestly, I did not have any expectations with that tournament because I played the school nationals in Bihar just before that, and that was not really good. I wanted to come in the top 5 at least, but I stood 12th in that tournament. So I wasn't really sure if I was going to perform well in the amateur nationals too, so I had no expectations. But the first 4 rounds were really great and I won all of them. It was really difficult for me, but yeah, they went well. And in that tournament too, I was just playing safe and I was waiting for my opponents to blunder. So yeah, in the first 4 rounds I won, but in the 5th round I lost against Arpita Patankar, who is my friend again from Gujarat, and it really stung. So I really cried that day, and but my sir motivated me to just go on and play the next round. So again, when I won the 6th round, I gained back that confidence, and yeah, so I played the 7th round. 7th round was good. I won 8th round now. So I knew I was facing Akshaya Sathi from Karnataka, and she's a really great player. I had never played against her, but she's really great. I've seen her games and all. So I was not really sure if I was gonna win that game, but I prepared against her, like especially against her, and I changed my opening. Like I changed it from the first move. I usually play d4, but I played knight f3. So that was kind of difficult for me because she already knew the opening and I wasn't sure if I do, because I had only gone through it once and I was like, let's just play it. So eventually that game was a roller coaster, but eventually I won that game after many obstacles. But yeah, so after winning the 8th round, I was on a sole lead with I guess 0.5, and I just needed a draw in the next round. So it was like Arpita was a half point down and Arpita was on the second board beside me, but she lost the round unfortunately against Sananda R, and if I only draw the game against Rashmika Maringati, who was my opponent in the 9th round, I was the champion. So I kept the game equal, and then when I got the opportunity, I took perpetual checks and drew the game.
Wow, amazing, amazing. That is an amazing story to come back after a loss in the middle of the tournament. It's a commendable thing. Okay, so there are a few other things I think you have mentioned before, like your interaction with Anand. That is very interesting. If you want to share that story.
Yeah, so I had met Anand sir in 2019 too, and recently when he came to inaugurate the World Junior Chess Championship that we're playing right now, there was a small meetup kind of thing in Karnavati Club for Gujarat chess players, and I got lucky. I asked him a question about how does he deal with pressure. So he replied with, you should be aware of pressure, but you shouldn't feel it. And he explained it, and it was really good.
Okay, and as you mentioned that in the while your tournament was going on, your sir motivated you. So who are your coaches, if you want to mention them?
My coaches are Joy Chauhan sir and Hemal Thanki sir.
Oh, amazing. And when you are not playing chess, what are you doing? What grade are you in, if you want to share that?
When I'm not playing tournaments, I try to study and catch up with my studies, and also I really like to do social work, seva. I take it as seva. So I teach underprivileged kids in the slum areas of Riverfront chess whenever I'm free, and they are, I would say it's an institution, Sandhya Shala, that was started by my mom in 2013 to educate underprivileged children. So yeah, now these children are really talented and they focus on studies too, but they also focus on extracurricular activities like dance, skating, and they even do art. That's really good, like they're really good at it. So I'm grateful that my mom started it, and they are not even connected to any NGOs or anything. They don't have a personal space. It's just on the footpath of Riverfront under a banyan tree in front of gate number 2 Riverfront Park.
How it's not every day that we meet youngsters who are into all these social activities. I understand that your mom has a big part to play here, but how did she convince you, or it was you who proactively asked that, mom, I should go?
So my mom teaches them, and I would accompany her sometimes. So they do this 2 to 6 p.m. every day. May it be monsoon, may it be winters. The children don't care. They're just too dedicated. So yeah, my mom did not have to convince me. I used to accompany her, and I thought I should just share my knowledge with someone who needs it. So I just like to be there, and they refer to me as Didi and to her as Auntie. So that's a sense of familiarity there. So yeah, I just like going there. There's my happy space.
Amazing. Okay, so you won your first game today. That is an amazing achievement. 4 more rounds to go. All the very best for the rest of the rounds.
Thank you.